The first step to finding a mentor is defining what you want out of your career. So here I am, ready to kickstart as a full-time theater teacher, but that's not the end goal. I still want to audition and perform, get a graduate degree, possibly get into theater administration, open my own drama school. Too much? Not when you're trying to have a career with longevity. This gem of a human, Dr. Susan Speidel, a gal from Rahway, New Jersey, just like me, whose career has spanned so many avenues, starting out as a performer, to a theater office manager, to the director of education in a theater house, to teaching and directing theater in a public school, the managing assistant director for the School of Performing Arts at Kane, and now adjunct professor. Born in 1956, Susie had a very normal suburban childhood where she played kickball in the street and Barbies on back porches. Her dad was a physical education teacher and gymnastics coach, and her mom was a school secretary. However, she was severely asthmatic and was frequently hospitalized and even had to keep an oxygen tank in the house. The believer that experience molds a person. Not only did her asthma teach her to be a fighter, it taught her how to breathe correctly for singing. Working her diaphragm was the only way she can get her lungs to work during an attack. While propped up on her couch, her parents would play records or tune into old movies on TV. It was the beginning of a life immersed in theater, film, art, and literature. She is a believer that experience molds a person. Not only did her asthma teach her to be a fighter, it taught her how to breathe correctly for singing. She never had to be taught how to support from the diaphragm because as a kid, it was the only way she could get her lungs to work during an attack. Susie realized she had some real ability in 10th grade when she was casted as the lead in her high school's production of Funny Girl. Everyone kept telling her how hard it was going to be, how much work she was going to have to put in, but she never felt that. Yeah, she worked hard, but it felt easy and fun. It all sort of came naturally, and she remembers thinking, maybe this is what I'm good at. Maybe this is what I'm supposed to do. After high school, Susie earned her bachelor's degree in English and theater from Montclair State University as she had a love of both literature and performing, which also mirrors my undergrad route. She continued to perform during college, and after she graduated, she did some professional touring, but then realized she was going to need something more financially stable. In 1984, Susie began working as both the office manager and acting director of fundraising at George Street Playhouse in New Brunswick, New Jersey. She worked there for 3 years. Her interest in the business and administrative side of theater was growing. Learning the business was done with ease as she did not have any formal training in this specific area. It just came very naturally to her. In 1987, Susie would become the director of education at Paper Mill Playhouse in Millburn, New Jersey for the next 20 years. She said her greatest success was the creation of the Rising Star Awards and the Summer Musical Theater Conservatory. Back then, regional theaters offered some educational programming, but it was mostly all audience enrichment with little focus on the training of future generations of theater artists. Susie is most proud that those programs are still thriving and inspiring and training students today. They aren't perfect, but they have opened the door for so many young performers. And those who aren't performers today, but have gone on to other careers, have a sense of discipline and focus that only rigorous training in the arts can provide. Continued to pursue higher education. She went on to earn a master's degree in performing arts administration from NYU in 1996, a master's degree in liberal studies from Kane University in 2007, and then finally in 2015, Susie became Dr. Speidel, having earned the honor of a Doctor of Letters in Liberal Studies from Drew University. In 2007, Susie left the position at Paper Mill because she wanted to teach theater in the classroom and direct students, and she loved every minute of it. She taught theater and directed all production at Morristown Beard School in Morristown, New Jersey, and was the chair of the Performing Arts Department for 12 years. But this is where Susie encountered her most difficult moments in theater. A woman has been the most difficult in her career path. During her final year at Morristown Beard, she was confronted with the Old Boys Club when she dared to question two male members of the faculty and challenge their knowledge of the arts. Neither were theater or performing arts teachers, yet they were being given control and oversight of programming that should have been within the domain of the arts department. She stood her ground. She was called out by the administration, and it became evident that she had stepped outside of what they thought her boundaries should have been as a woman. Gender and the notion that a woman shouldn't question a man or defy authority was a non issue at the regional theaters she worked at, so it blew her mind when she ran smack into it at MBS. In 1996, Dr. Speidel went on to teach higher education at Kane University as an adjunct professor. Prior to COVID, she was the managing assistant director for the School of the Performing Arts Department. Her job was to engage the wider campus in arts activities, increase attendance at performances and exhibits, and work with the admissions to recruit students. However, she was only there for 6 months when the job was eliminated due to cuts resulting from COVID 19. That was a disappointment because they were just getting started and she loved the position. She thought it could really benefit the theater, dance, and music conservatories. Dr. Speidel said to me, I don't think I know how to do anything other than theater. It is truly the only thing I'm good at. I never had to learn how to perform. I never had to be told about the various departments in theater management. And I never took any formal education classes, but I knew I was teaching every time I directed or whenever I worked with young actors. A piece of advice from Dr. Speidel was don't take your creative or dramatic persona too far or try too hard to be the cool teacher with wacky clothes or by trying to appear like you are one of the students. You aren't. You are the teacher. And that behavior can make you look foolish and undermine the notion that theater is a serious subject worth of study. I had asked Dr. Speidel, looking back over your career, what would you have done differently? She said, looking back, I sometimes think I might have been better off with just a master's in theater or education. And as an actor, know your type. Look at the business as a business, not as a fantasy or pastime, and don't take rejection seriously. I asked her if she was looking forward to retiring or was she going to work as long as possible. She said, even though I've done okay, a life in the arts doesn't make for a secure retirement or a huge pension. So she probably won't ever be able to retire completely, nor does she want to. She'd like to think she'll be in rehearsal or teaching until the day they close the coffin lid. I asked Susie, how will you know you've made it? She replied with a smile, I don't think you ever make it. That's a false concept created by our success driven, celebrity crazy society. I think being a working artist is all anyone can ever really hope for.